might actually be the most derivative one of all. I mean, Christ, the same house.
Maybe so. But you forgot the first rule of surviving a stab movie. Never answer the...
I'm bored.
Wait!
And welcome back to Horror Queers. It's the end of the year, and I'm Joe.
And I'm Trace, and in lieu of a film this week, since all of y'all are on vacation, hopefully, we're gonna talk about the year.
Indeed, yeah. So instead of doing it as a separate kind of bonus episode, we realized nobody really listens to podcasts this week. So we're just doing it this way. We're going to do some reflections on the year. And also we've got a little best of list because we've got about 15 films plus change that we want to recognize and celebrate.
I got my bottle of Chianti ready. And Joe, when I tell you, I searched for fava beans to make for this recording tonight, and I could not find them.
Okay. That is a very specific reference. I'm not sure why it has to come in for a 2023 wrap.
I was like, I want to have a bottle of wine for this recording tonight, and I got a Chianti, and I was like, oh, a Chianti, oh, yeah, I'll be cliche, I'll get the fava beans. And I went to the bean aisle, both the canned and the dry beans. No fava beans.
What is going on in Denver?
I don't know. But nevertheless, I have my Chianti.
Okay. Oh, here we go. All right. So, Trace, 2023, the year that was. Let's start with a big, broad question. How did you feel about horror this year?
You know, I think there were a lot of really good horror movies this year. I've seen some takes on social media saying, like, horror made a lot of money this year, but in terms of the actual quality, it was a real downward spiral compared to the last couple years. And I don't agree. My general thought on that is, I think it was a very good year for horror. There just weren't a ton of like, oh shit, 5-star horror films coming out this year. And I think that's where that opinion is coming from.
Right. You and I have had a number of conversations about this where it feels like we had a big run of movies that were getting 3s, 3.5s, occasionally 4s. And the reality is that I think sometimes we're just searching for those high highs, right? We're looking for those 4.5, those 5-star films. But the reality is that most films are probably going to fall somewhere in the middle. So to get a really healthy smattering of like solid films, couple of issues, but mostly enjoyed it, I mean, that's a win for me.
Agree. And, when I was sorting my letterbox list to be like, okay, let's sort all these by my rating and see, I had so many 3.5 and 3-star films this year.
Yeah. And I wonder if that's the case, right? Like maybe last year it just felt like we were getting, a solid 10 or 15 4-star, 5-star films. And I mean, that is going to be hard to come by, but I don't know. I mean, I think that there's a lot of good films this year. I think there's a lot of interesting films that, maybe it's not going to be in my top horror films of all time, but I'm going to look back on them fondly and say, yeah, you know what? That was a good film. I enjoyed watching that.
I think if anything, outside of the quality of the films this year, horror has been very popular this year.
Yeah.
I was reading former guest Katie Reif's article that she put up on RogerEbert.com, and she does her top 10, and she also does let's look at the state of horror in 2023.
Right.
And she credits a lot of Gen Z for not to be like, oh, horror's dead, because those articles, happen all the fucking time. But she credits Gen Z with a lot of the renewed popularity in getting people to the theaters to go see horror movies. But also with found footage and liminal horror, with things like The Outwaters and Skinamarink, and how Skinamarink more so than The Outwaters I think made a bigger cultural impact. Both people confounded by it and people that loved it.
Absolutely. I mean, both low budget bangers, and people can disagree, Skinamarink and The Outwaters, not films for everyone, but the fact that those movies cost so little, made such a big splash, dominated the cultural conversation for weeks, sometimes even months at a time, to me that is a win for horror because people are checking it out, they're developing their taste, right? If you watch Skinamarink and you say, I found that the scariest fucking movie of the year, that is so exciting to me, because then we can have a conversation about that, right? Whereas if people are just like, oh, I don't like horror. Okay, well, I guess we don't really have a great jumping off point.
Well, and I will say, and this is going to make me sound like a huge asshole, but I have wanted to be a gatekeeper of horror more this year than I ever have in my entire life, because while I am so happy that the horror genre audience is growing, the discourse on social media is, I think it's been more frustrating this year than it ever has for me in years past, just because we have so many new inductees into this secret society we have.
Yes, the publicly available Secret Society of Horror.
Yes, but I think that media literacy has been very challenging for a lot of people this year, and so it's a thing where I'm so happy that more people are liking horror, because yay, a win for horror is a win for all of us. But I have pulled back my involvement in joining discourse because I found it more frustrating than exhilarating.
Okay, so you're saying media literacy and challenging discourse. Do you have an example in mind? Like, what are we talking about? Is it just people deliberately misreading films, or people picking fights with one another? Like, where are you coming from?
I don't know. I mean, even, I guess maybe I'm being defensive because one of my favorite films this year was Robbie Joe Banfich's The Outwaters.
Right.
I saw so many like, oh, there's no plot. And I was like, okay. Or, oh, nothing happens. And oh, you can't see anything. It's just a pen light. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, but again, why? Why are all these things the way they are? Like, what?
Right.
And I get it. Not everything that is a 5-star film for me is going to be even a 3-star film for other people. And that film is very challenging. But even with Skinamarink, which is a movie that I was very mid on.
Right.
But like my husband loves. To see people just reduce it to, oh, this is just 2 hours of staring at a wall, which literally that is what it is. But I don't know. I wish people would engage more with the movies and the media they're consuming.
Okay, that's interesting, because I feel like I had a different response to those kinds of criticisms. Like, to me, that was people at least taking a risk on a film because, they heard there was all this buzz about The Outwaters or Skinamarink, and they said, I need to try this because it's what people are talking about. It's what the kids are all about right now. So I almost think it's worth applauding that people maybe stepped outside of their little safe sandbox and said, I'm going to try something. I don't know if it's for me. And then, maybe they discovered it wasn't. But it sounds like maybe people's boundaries got pushed a little bit. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
I agree with that. I mean, look, this is not a horror movie, although I think an argument could be made for how it could be a horror movie. But even seeing reactions to Todd Haynes' May December this year, which...
You love a challenging film.
A very challenging film. And look, I saw someone tweet, like, how could anyone just put a Todd Haynes film on Netflix for these idiots? Like, to just watch this. Like, you need to know Todd Haynes to walk in, and, like, whatever. But I saw opinions range from, oh, wow, nothing happens, there's no plot, to, oh, this film's handling of sexual, like, child rape is very tone deaf. And, again, it was a lesson for me in, like, learning about hearing people's opinions on movies, because I completely disagree with those opinions.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe it's more of a lesson for me to like, that's the issue though, right? Because I want to talk to these people about these movies, but when it's reduced to a tweet, there's not much you can do about that.
Yeah, I feel like last year and then this year have been really good years for me to recognize social media is not good for my mental health. I know it's a shocking declaration, folks, but I was spending a lot of time on there in between doing socials for this pod, for my other podcasts, making the transition to writing full time. I felt like I needed to be really active and involved in the conversation. Not only did it frequently lead to me producing nonsense tweets with lots of spelling errors or overstepping into conversations I should have just backed away from slowly, but it really helped me to realize I like long form editorials because people can actually work through things in great detail. And so many of these challenging films, and a lot of them are horror films, demand that kind of interrogation, that room to breathe and unpack and just have the conversation, right? Whereas social media is just shoot from the hip. I've got a limited amount of space. I'm maybe even just trying to rile people up and get engagement because it makes me money or it gets me popularity and so on. And I'm like, I don't need any of that. Never mind.
Yeah, no, I mean, I still use Twitter and Instagram the most out of any social media platform, but I definitely took a conscious step back from replying to things on Twitter this year, to where if I saw a take I didn't agree with or I saw a take that I thought was just very misguided, I didn't reply because
Right.
then I'd be stuck like waiting hours and hours for a reply, and it's just like, again, as you said, not good for my mental health. I have to understand that some people are just watching movies casually and not with purposeful intent. Maybe that's the wrong phrase, but
sure, they're not engaging with it critically. They're just sitting there watching it, which is also fine. Some people do that, but then when you get online and you're then throwing stuff out into the void, people are coming out from different places.
Yeah. So, I'm learning the self-control and the restraint to just be like, you know what? I'm going to keep scrolling and not reply to this person, even if it's someone I know.
Yep. Sometimes that's the case.
Yeah.
So one other conversation, and then maybe we can talk specifically about horror queers and what a year we had. You mentioned the popularity of horror. So we had some really big films in terms of money making. I would argue that we also saw a really wild diversity of different types of horror films. And that was pretty exciting this year too. Any particular titles catch your eye or things that you wanted to highlight?
Well, so I think it's an interesting study in IP and brand recognition, but also returning franchises. I mean, like, look, Saw 10 made the most money an entry in that film has made since, I think, Saw 5, which was over 10 years ago. Like, this movie made over $100 million worldwide. It made over $50 million domestically, which is no small feat for that $13 million budgeted film, but it's also one of those things where I was like, why did this movie make so much money? And
let's put a pin in that because I think we'll talk more about that film in a little bit.
Sure. But even like, I don't know, like you and I were both kind of out of the loop on Five Nights at Freddy's, but then that's one of the most successful, like financially successful horror films of the year. Yeah.
Directed by a woman, based on a video game for tweens, having barely any scares, and also debuting day and date on Peacock. That film was a marvel in a lot of ways that I'm still trying to wrap my head around. But, we also saw top tier entry for Scream 6. That movie made more money than like any Scream film has made in a very long time. It's just been really interesting to see the movies that have succeeded so much theatrically. And then, of course, there's Exorcist Believer.
Well, that's the outlier in terms of good franchise entries. Good and financially successful. Although I do think that movie did well financially, but I don't think it made as much as they were wanting it to make.
No, there was money left on the table for sure.
But like we've also got like really, really strong surprise streamers. So like No One Will Save You or Sit. Like a bunch of these other streamers. There's also been a weird mishandling of films this year. So again, I'm thinking of films like Cobweb or Dark Harvest, which again, I'm just like, what? Who's making these decisions?
Yeah, folks, those are movies that sat on the shelf for years in some cases and then just get unceremoniously dumped. And that's obviously not a new thing. It's just that it feels like it wouldn't have typically happened. Like those movies are actually interesting and or good. Whereas normally we see things that are like, oh, the studio has absolutely no faith in this and they just dump it with no fanfare.
But I've also seen like a trend. Oh, I've told this to you like 3 times this week, Joe, and you're going to laugh when I say it again. But this trend of, I'm going to call them genre films that primarily operate as dramas, like really compelling dramas for the first 2 acts. And then shift very heavily, explicitly into horror genre territory for that last act. And I feel like that's maybe like a spin-off of the A24 model. My issue with this is a lot of these films, and I'll give examples, like something like Clock on Hulu, or something like From Black, which I think is on Shudder.
Yep.
Both boasting very strong performances by their female leads, and Diana Agron and Anna Camp, respectively. But the problem with a lot of these films is like the dramatic aspects are so compelling, and then when we start to shift into genre territory, the genre elements are so tropey, formulaic, and predictable that it undercuts all the solid work that came before. And it reminds me of that conversation we had a lot around like something like Danny Boyle's Sunshine, where it's like, oh, it's a really good film, and then it devolves into a schlocky slasher for the last act.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying these movies are bad because they turn into horror films for the last act. They just turn into bad or mediocre horror films for the last act.
Right. So you would be a little bit more generous if the horror was on par with the quality of the drama that came before it.
Exactly. Thank you for articulating that for me.
Yeah, I think my response to you when you've mentioned that to me is it feels a little bit evocative of that period maybe a couple of years ago where we had all of those, are these women going mad or is there something supernatural happening? And you and I both got very, very tired of those. Even when they were well done, it's just like, I think sometimes when we see a trend, it starts to grate on us more because it feels like we're seeing the same batch of films making the same kind of problem.
And that's why in 5 years, ask me again how I feel about these movies. Maybe I'll like them more because in 5 years, these trends won't be like the commonplace thing we see in films at the time.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Well, why don't we shift and talk about our little baby here, our baby bundle of podcast. What the fuck am I saying?
I don't know what you're saying, but yes, our podcast. Let's gloat for a little bit.
Yeah. So a couple of milestones to celebrate this year. So it is our 5th year. And one of the big things I wanted us to do this year was to try to get out there in person a little bit more, Trace. So, of course, we had only previously met in person once before. And this year, we managed to have 2 live shows. So we did a show in Salem and we did a show at Fantastic Fest. And it was just kind of lovely to have that live experience.
Yeah. I will confess, I am definitely the more nervous one when walking into a live show because I like the security blanket that is the editing process. But no, this is we had to talk about the Hitcher at Salem, which also, though, y'all, film festival aside, which by the way, go to the film fest, it's great.
Always.
But Salem is just so fun. It's so quaint and cute and fun.
Yeah, it was my second time visiting there. The first that I got to spend some quality time with Kay. And yeah, it's such a lovely town. Like it's filled with so much, it's not a town, it's a city. It's filled with so much personality, great food, and that festival is fantastic because it's small enough that you can still meet people and make a good connection with them, and then you can go off and like have a great meal or check out a film.
I love that you're like, Salem has great food when like I ordered steak tips at 90% of the restaurants we went to.
Well, your palate is ridiculous to me, and I don't want to comment.
Y'all, I'm just telling you, I don't know what it is because apparently steak tips are a thing in either the New England area or just Salem specifically because it was on whether it was
every menu,
a cheap ass diner or like a really nice fancy restaurant, there were goddamn steak tips in the menu, and so of course I was like, well, I gotta see, I gotta compare them.
How could you not? If you see it, you've got to order it. It's just how it works.
But yeah, then we reunited again just a few months later in September for our Fantastic Fest live show, which was 4-year reunion, actually, since being there back in 2019.
Yeah, we had the opportunity to talk about the town that dreaded sundown, as well as the history of queer horror at the festival for the last couple of years. And it was fun to do a kind of listicle approach and just unpack all of the, I guess, the ground that we've made in terms of queer horror. Like even a festival as big as Fantastic Fest, when we started to mine through it, it was like there were some really, really good years of queer horror. And it's fun because I feel like not everyone has the opportunity to participate or engage in a festival. But folks, if you do, one of the best reasons to do it is because not only are you going to see some films in advance before everybody else, so you can gloat and you can, give yourself a little pat on the back, but you're also seeing really exciting films that are probably going to change the nature of the conversation.
It's so funny. It's like my sister, she watches movies, like she'll watch things I send her, but she's not like a movie buff like you or I are. And
so she's just watching movies, but she's not engaging with them critically?
Yeah, exactly that. But it's always a thing where I would love to take my sister to a film festival, a genre film festival like Fantastic Fest, because the thing with film festivals, what makes it so fun is, especially if it's like at one earlier in the year, it's like you don't know anything about these movies other than the one image they have in the program and then like the log line or premise. So if you're really like anal about your scheduling and like what you watch and don't watch, that's not going to be the best thing for you because part of the fun of a film festival is just rolling the goddamn dice. Like you will just make your schedule, see 3 films in a day that you have no idea what the fuck they are. And hopefully you walk out, you might hate all 4 of them, you might love all 4 of them, or it's a mixed bag of everything.
Right. Or somebody is like, I saw this thing, it's playing one more time in this time slot and you've got to clear your schedule. Like at Fantastic Fest this year, we saw a film everyone is going to be talking about in 2024, and it was a literal word of mouth phenomenon where Brad McCarg mentioned something and then somebody else said something, and it was like, wait, people are talking about this movie. I'd never heard of this movie. Folks, it's a movie called The Coffee Table.
Oh, yeah.
Put that in your back pocket because holy fuck.
Oh, man. I think my review for that on Letterboxd was just like, something happens in the first 20 minutes of this film that I have never seen put on film before, and I loved it.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that one's gonna fuck people up.
It will. But
anyway.
I mean, I think our live show went well. Y'all can maybe look for our audio recording of that to come out on the feed later this year.
Ah, there we go. So, Trace, one other milestone that we hit in year 5 is we broke a 30-day download number that we had never seen before. So, folks, Trace does a really good job of looking at the metrics and keeping track and just seeing how episodes are performing so that we can kind of plan accordingly. And we always knew that Psycho was going to be a big title, but we didn't anticipate that it was going to crack 8,000 downloads in the first 30 days.
This shows how off like the mark I am, because for me, if I see a podcast I love covering Psycho, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, what more do I need to learn about Psycho? Time to listen to this shit. And that's honestly how I thought people were going to react to our episode. And not only did we have a better conversation than I actually expected, because I confess I was the kind of the Debbie Downer being like, oh, it's Psycho. Like, what the fuck can we say about this movie?
Right.
We got so much positive feedback from that. And again, as you just said, all those download numbers, I'm flabbergasted, to be honest, Joe.
Yeah. I mean, it's not always the ones we think are going to do well. And sometimes we hope for a good number and it doesn't always happen. But yeah, this was a really genuine surprise and a pleasant one at that.
Yeah. I think it also goes to show, though, I'll be the Debbie Downer again, that sometimes just having a really... I think we got a lot of first-time listeners for that episode because it was just someone talking about Psycho. And maybe queers talking about Psycho. People were like, yeah, let's go listen to that.
Right. Yeah.
I will say, though, one of the episodes we got the most positive feedback on, especially in our Spotify Wrapped, was Hereditary with Girl That's Scary.
Yeah, I think that's another one where I anticipated it would do well, but I didn't think it was going to like break the margin in terms of which episodes people were most excited for. Credit to Jazz and Kat for doing an absolutely fantastic job guesting on that. I think it's also a testament to the way that Hereditary has dug in since its 2018 premiere. Like, this is a true contemporary classic.
Agreed. And I think we're seeing more people come around, because I think at the time when it came out, obviously it was critically acclaimed, but you had a lot of audience members that were like, it wasn't that scary. And I think now we're seeing more people like really, really, really get into it and like embrace what that movie's offering.
Yeah. I mean, particularly if you recognize, there's a lot more going on in that movie than I grasped on the first watch. Like, it merits repeat viewings. And I think hearing people talk about it and express their feelings, that's a great way to get a little bit more mileage out of it.
But what about another one, Joe?
So let's talk about some of these other highly rated episodes, Trace. We got some really, really good traction on The Others. And I can't help but wonder if it's because Nicole Goebel, our guest from Bodies of Horror, brought a really great perspective about disability representation, or maybe it's just that it was on people's minds because we've got that Criterion Blue out now, baby.
Well, I'm going to say I'm a little surprised at these numbers. Not because of the quality of the episode, but because, as a few people pointed out, that movie was not available to stream anywhere when we released the episode.
Yep.
Oops. I want to point out it was available earlier in the year, but I think because of that Criterion announcement, it was pulled from everywhere.
Right. Make them wait. Make them hungry for it.
But yeah, no, we had really good numbers for that. And again, like that was a movie that I hadn't seen since theaters, and it was really fun to revisit it. But also the insight from a disability perspective that Nicole brought was just so enlightening for me.
Yeah. Folks, we've been trying to get you to pivot and listen to Bodies of Horror because you can expect that kind of quality in every episode. And it's often very challenging. Nicole tackles your favorites, and forces you to re-examine your relationship to them.
Oh, yeah. Joe, do you have a hand in the Bodies of Horror pot?
That is Nicole's baby. I am just the person who helps to program it. But yes, if folks want to listen to like that, or Jen and Gina and I talk about white ladies in crisis and erotic thrillers, like, yeah, I've got a couple of other podcasts.
All right, do it. We also had pretty strong numbers for our episode on Insidious Chapter 2, and I have to believe, I mean, outside of the fact that, yes, Insidious, The Red Door was coming out, it was the quote-unquote final entry, but we had two amazing guests on that episode, the Boulet brothers.
I think that was a perfect storm, right? We timed it just right, and then we also had guests where people were like, oh yeah, I definitely want to hear their take.
So full disclosure, y'all. So we actually had the Boulet brothers booked on our Annihilation episode, which, by the way, also really good.
Yeah.
But they had to back out last minute because, I mean, they're busy. they're Boulet brothers. So we were so happy to lock them in for Insidious Chapter 2. And, you know, as much as I love when we get academic, Joe, I just kind of love / maybe prefer the sit down, chill, hang, and, like, just dish shit out conversations. And I feel like that's what this episode was.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good marriage of the two, because we had previously written about Insidious Chapter 2. It was one of our first editorials on Bloody. So we knew going into that film that it was going to be a little bit of a dodgy, tricky situation because of the subject matter. But I think that episode is also just a lot of fun.
Yeah, very, very much. Again, we're just shooting the shit, right?
Yeah. Similar trace to our 250th episode, which was another milestone from earlier this year. And of course, we knew we wanted to pick a big title. It was Halloween season. And honestly, Sleepy Hollow is just the perfect film that we could have chosen.
Oh, you might shit on me for this. And I had so much fun talking about that movie with you, but it was one of those episodes where I was like, I didn't think it was a particularly insightful episode.
No, I don't think we brought like a ton of new things to Sleepy Hollow.
No, but we had fun talking about it and watching it and, you know, basking in the glory of Miranda Richardson's spiderweb dress.
Oh my gosh. The production design, the costume for that movie. So good.
But again, goes to show, big titles, big download numbers.
Indeed, yes. And I think we could probably make a claim for that one for our final big number entry, which was Friday the 13th, Part 2. We had Mike Munzer from The Evolution of Horror, but also we timed it because it lined up with a Friday the 13th and another October pick.
I mean, you might say if you made a whole podcast built around the Friday the 13th franchise, that it will do good numbers. And because I think literally every single one of our Friday episodes has been one of our top downloaded episodes every year.
Right. Should we go ask Patrick and Gina over at Kill by Kill?
I was going to ask them. We can ask the Halloweenies.
We can ask Pot and Pendulum. Yeah. Surprisingly enough, popular IP does well, but also I think it's a topic that people want to hear folks discuss.
Yes.
So, Trace, we talked about the numbers in terms of what listeners were listening to, but did you have a favorite episode from the year?
Oh, a favorite. Okay, so I cheated and I picked 3.
That is not one, sir.
I know. No, but I'll link them instead of like going into like details about each one. So the reason I picked 3 is because I thought about the most fun I had recording episodes, and I will confess that our guests had a lot to do with this. It wasn't just the movie we were discussing, but on top of Hereditary with Girl That's Scary, which is one of my 3.
Right.
I think our episode on Wild Things with the people under the scares was, look, I don't think I'm as raunchy now as I was 4 years ago. I still get people reaching out to me saying, when are you going to talk about Cum again? And I feel you. I want to talk about Cum all the time. And I got to do it in that episode where I talked about some embarrassing teenage public masturbation habits.
Right. There's something about Bobby and Mike that just brings it out in you.
They're great. Thanks, Bobby and Mike. But our other one, though, and this is an off-kilter pick, but it's our Shiva Baby episode with our dear friend Lindsay Travis. That episode combined 2 of my favorite things. It's just really like just honest, chill conversation, but also I don't want to say difficult conversations, but very open conversations. So, you know, I didn't grow up Jewish. I am not Jewish. I don't know a lot about Judaism. And Lindsay really brought her A game with her insight. And I loved being able to just be comfortable saying, hey, I don't really get this. Can you explain it to me? And then just like shooting the shit once it was explained.
Right. And it's also just such a great movie. There was a ton of other things to talk about. So I felt like that conversation had a really good flow.
100. And again, I think it might be because you and I talk to Lindsay on a regular basis. So like we have that added aspect going into it. But yeah, like that was one of the most natural conversations I felt we'd had since we started this podcast.
Okay. Interesting. So you'll be happy to know that I also cheated. I didn't pick a favorite episode. How can I choose among my 52 babies? I got a lot of satisfaction, and I think the episodes came out well on our 2 theme months. So, folks will remember we talked about toxic masculinity in November, and I think all of those episodes ended up being really interesting and really provocative, sometimes really challenging. You're going to hear some things later on in this episode that suggest that we didn't hit the mark in all of those conversations, and I think that's okay too.
Yeah.
And then I also forced you to watch no less than 6 erotic thrillers this year, Trace.
Forced me to watch it. As if like you have to like twist my arm to watch an erotic thriller.
I mean, we've never hit that high a mark in a single year, I think, because usually we're trying to diversify some of the films that we watch. But doing a month of erotic thrillers and varying them and then having great conversations with those, also tackling, as you said, Wild Things. And then, of course, we doubled up over on the Patreon so that we could watch...
The Voyeurs!
The Voyeurs, yes. Which, honestly, that film is such a fucking messy banger. I love it.
Yeah, y'all. If y'all didn't watch The Voyeurs, go watch it. It's on Amazon Prime. And it's not going to blow you away, but it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. And then we've got a full episode on it over on Patreon.
Well, okay, so speaking of Patreon, though, Joe, then did you have a favorite Patreon episode this year?
So if I was trusting the patrons, I would say it's our episode on Bram Stoker's Dracula, which we got a lot of really good feedback on. People said it's our best audio commentary that we've done to date, which is pretty impressive because we've done 50 of them. So
I mean, I don't mean to be like really as if it was a bad audio commentary. I had so much fun watching that with you. I think maybe it's because we went more into the technical aspects than we normally do on a commentary.
Yeah, people seem to really respect the fact that we were bringing some of the main feed energy into it with the research. But I also just think it's such a good movie. We had a lot of fun with that commentary.
Oh, yeah. That movie. Mwah.
Yeah. And then one other episode that I'll just briefly highlight because I think it's a really interesting conversation is way back in February, we tackled M. Night Shyamalan's new film, Knock at the Cabin, and we had a lot to say about the depiction of queerness in that central couple and how the changes from the book alter the meaning of the film. And I felt like we were at odds with other members of the queer community who thought that this was good, this was a step in the right direction. And that episode, I think, just really got to the core of why the film didn't work for me.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of trends this year, former guest Kyle Turner, actually, I saw him post somewhere where it's like, we need to start accepting the fact that just because a movie is queer does not mean it is good.
Oh, God, yes.
And I am in full agreement, y'all. Unfortunately, queer people can make bad movies. Movies with queer plot lines and queer characters can also be bad. And that is a movie where I was very perplexed by all the praise it was getting because of it. I mean, look, I get it. You know, it's like, oh, it's queer people being quote unquote normal. But then I was at odds because I was like, but they're not normal. Like the queerness by definition is not normal.
Yeah. I mean, folks, we got a whole episode on it. So go and listen to that.
Well, my answer for this is a bit different. I went for, again, one where I was like, we don't get to do one of these very often. And that is our mini-sode on the 2020/2023 Children of the Corn reboot.
Oh my God.
I had so much fun trying to figure out every inane, nonsensical decision that movie made with you. Y'all, again, as I said in the episode, it is not a good movie. I don't know if I would spend money on it, but oh my God, is it one of the funniest movies you will see this year?
And the answer is no, it's just a bad movie.
No, it's so funny.
Yeah, so if you want to hear this for like 40 more minutes, go and listen to that one.
Oh my God, like, it's so bad. It's so bad. It's so bad.
So bad.
I'm like Sally Field and Mrs. Doubtfire. Dead the whole time. The whole time.
The whole time. All right, so before we talk about some episodes that maybe deserve a little more love, do you have a favorite first-time watch from this year, Trace? So you often talk about how we force ourselves to watch movies for the pod, and sometimes they're not always movies we would watch otherwise. So I'm curious if there was one where you were like, oh, I hadn't seen it, and I loved it.
So this was kind of, well, it wasn't tough because I had very few movies to pick because I had actually seen most of the movies we covered this year on the main feed. Honorable mention, Ghost of Stranger by the Lake. First time watch for me, really, really liked it. But the one that really stuck with me the most this year was my first time watch of Elephant, directed by Gus Van Sant.
Wait, did I know that was your first time watching it?
I think you did. Y'all, let us know. Is it in the episode? Do I say it was my? I'm sure I have to. It was my first time watching it.
Okay, you know what? It's coming back to me. Maybe through the fog of that episode. I actually quite like that episode too.
Joe, you need to listen more to me. That's an inside joke because I don't listen to Joe 90% of the time.
So true. So true.
No, but no, because even though the movie's not having conversations, like the characters are not having conversations about school shootings, the movie is having those conversations, and that's just something that, again, as you'll hear me say multiple times in this podcast, I really love movies that have those difficult conversations, and Gus Van Sant's Elephant is absolutely one of them. That movie
is a whole hard conversation.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And so it's not an enjoyable film, but it's a powerful film.
Right.
But what about you, Joe?
So I did not go for a powerful, well-made film. I went for a delightfully bonkers, frequently stupid, sometimes infuriating film, Trace.
Oh.
I loved Tusk.
Ah! You have no idea how happy that makes me because I thought for certain that you were going to hate that movie. Because, I mean, everyone listening is probably like, what the fuck? Because a lot of people don't like Tusk.
No. And here's the thing. I don't like the Johnny Depp part still. That part has not changed. But just what a fucking wackadoodle movie. And getting to hear you and Dee Dee just rock out on that movie was so much fun. But yeah, like just watching that film, it was really enjoyable. I was so happy to have finally seen it.
I will say too, and like kudos to Dee Dee, because it was one of those ones where I was really happy to have someone on my side of the court when we're talking about, because we don't like ask guests ahead of time, what do you think of this movie? And so it makes it more fun, and sometimes we'll have guests that are like, hey, like, I'm happy to come on, but just so you know, I don't like this movie. That's fine. It's not a requirement for you to like the movie to come on and talk about it, but in that particular case, I was really happy having someone who also loved that movie.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah. Oh, that makes me so happy, Joe. Okay, but what about, hey, so you alluded to this already, but what about episodes that came out this year that you think deserve more love?
Okay, so I would be remiss not to mention Closet Monster. I always knew it was going to be a hard sell. This is a tiny little coming-of-age Canadian film, but I think that is a really, really special movie, and I think we have a really, really good conversation with a very close personal friend of mine. We get really personal, too. Like, that's very much a queer origin story kind of episode. And yeah, I just wish that more people maybe had given the film a chance.
Oh, yeah, and that was always, because Jonathan was, again, a personal friend of yours. I mean, obviously he has, like, academic credentials and things like that, but he was coming on mainly as, like, oh, yeah, this is one of my really good friends, Jonathan, and again, brought his A game to that, and that's another one where I don't feel like we've had a ton of really personal episodes this year.
Yeah.
But that was one of them, and I always love going into those sometimes difficult, but often hilarious waters with you.
Sure. Yeah.
Mine. So I'm going purely based on the movie itself.
Okay.
This is one of our January episodes on Todd Haynes's Safe. And
oh yeah.
We had great guests on that, academic and PhD, Andy Scahill, brought, again, a lot of good insight to that. But I think because that's a movie where no one really knows what it is. I mean, I didn't know what Safe was until I was in film school.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, a lot of people overlook that episode. And
Sure.
y'all, I implore you, if you have not watched Todd Haynes' Safe, go watch it. It is available in many places to rent. But also, I mean, shit, with May December coming out, I've already mentioned that once in this episode. What better way to bone up on your Todd Haynes filmography?
Indeed. And it is a damn good filmography, folks.
Hey, it's really fun to hear you say that, though, because, like, so do you like his more musical films, like, let's say, the Bob Dylan one, I'm Not There, or Velvet Goldmine?
I like Velvet Goldmine. I don't love it, and I haven't seen I'm Not There because I'm not a huge Dylan fan.
Dude, okay. You can cut this if you want. I do not get Bob Dylan. It's not to say he is bad. Whatever, people like him.
It's just not for us.
Not for us. And when I fucking tell you that in one of my film narrative classes, I got the goddamn syllabus in college, and what was on it, but I gotta watch I'm Not There, Todd Haynes' Bob Dylan movie.
I'm sure there's a bunch of people who have seen it and say, well, it's actually not about Bob Dylan, it's about a bunch of other things. And I'm sure it's not driving me to go and check it out right now.
The musical Todd Haynes is not my cup of tea. Give me the queer shit, like...
Give me queer shit, give me period shit.
Yes.
Because I'm all over that.
Far From Heaven, Safe, Carol.
Yes, yes.
I had to watch his Karen Carpenter Barbie doll movie, Superstar.
That one's great.
That was great. That was a film school watch for me, too. But yeah, Safe, Todd Haynes, great fucking movie. Again, kind of off kilter because I wouldn't exactly call it a horror film in the traditional sense of the term.
Yeah.
But I would call it a horror film.
Sure. I mean, Safe with Closet Monster.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. So, Trace, the time has come for us to unveil the films that we like the most this year. And folks, please note the fact that I said we like the most this year. We're not saying that they're the best movies of the year. We're simply saying these are the ones that we're probably going to either rewatch, talk about again, recommend to other folks, and so on.
I will say, Joe, so when we were compiling this list, did you feel a little guilty because a lot of our picks are kind of more mainstream?
Yeah, I struggled with this a little bit too. I mean, I'm not going to lie, we've also covered a lot of these movies. So maybe it's just that we've also been thinking about them. But, you know, as we said about trends in horror this year, I think the popular films kind of won the game. And if there's something that we've missed, folks, where you're screaming at us saying, I can't believe that they haven't checked this out because it's amazing, do let us know. Because when we were putting together the list, I did think, oh, okay, I wonder if we've gone basic.
Honestly, but that's why I watched like 7 or 8 movies this week to prepare. Movies that I heard were pretty good, that, you know, on the smaller side of things. But I have things added to my honorable mentions, but nothing I watched this week cracked my top 10.
Okay. So, folks, we've actually got 15. The criteria for this was that both Trace and I had to agree on them. So there's probably a couple that are a little more Trace or a little bit more me. But we both had to have seen the film and agree that it should make this top 15. And also, we decided not to rank them because we don't want to go out and say like, this film is the best. We're just going to say these are our top 15 and we're going to go alphabetically.
Yes. So yeah, basically, when looking at a snapshot of 2023 genre films, this is what I think we feel represents the year, really.
Yeah.
So what's up first?
So we're going to start with Attachment. This is one of many queer horror films that came out earlier this year. This is a Danish-English co-production. We do have a Micro Queers episode on it. And this is really good Jewish horror, Trace.
The thing, it's queer and it's Jewish. I'm honestly, like, again, as a born and raised Catholic, but, you know, agnostic now, I'm living for this, like, Jewish horror, like, bent we're on right now.
100%. Yeah, like, I'm not saying I never want to see another Catholic horror film again because that's just unrealistic. It's going to happen. But I love the fact that we are really starting to see us spread into other kinds of religious horror. And I think Attachment is one of those films where, you know, it's doing things in a sort of novel way, but also it's not so far out there that if you don't identify as Jewish, it's not like you can't approach this film. Like, it's very accessible. It's got some good horror moments. The two leads have good chemistry, which is always so important in a queer horror film.
Mm-hmm. Well, and again, it's a low budget film. There isn't a ton of effects here, but the effects we do get are done very well. Like, this doesn't look like a cheap movie.
No, yeah. So, Attachment, I believe it's on Shudder.
I think you're right. Next up, in alphabetical order, we are going to talk about Tim Story's The Blackening, which, Joe, you had been teasing me for months because you saw it at TIFF last year.
Yeah, so this one has been on my radar. I was actually really concerned that it wasn't going to live up to the hype I'd been doing for, 6 months at this point. And I was really happy that I think this is my favorite horror comedy of the year.
It is mine, and now we know we're getting a sequel. I will say, this is one of those 3.5-star movies for me. I think it's really funny. It doesn't break any new ground per se for me. I think we've seen a lot of these parody tropes before, but it was refreshing to see it from this angle. And again, there are so many laugh out loud parts in this movie.
Yeah, I agree. Narratively, this isn't breaking a ton of new ground, but for me, it's all about this ensemble, and I'm so excited that we're not doing an anthology style sequel. We're going to get to see these characters come back together, and I'm really psyched for that because the chemistry is just off the chart with these actors.
Yes, they're having so much fun. And
fun.
I will be there opening weekend for the sequel. I'm so excited for it.
Absolutely. And folks, we do have a full-length Patreon episode on that one if you want to go check it out. Okay, so what's next?
Well, Joe, this is your turn to speak, but we have a 1-2 punch of horribly mishandled releases next up.
Yeah, so I feel like we might be outliers on this one for selecting Cobweb, the Samuel Bowden, long on the shelf, Lizzie Kaplan, Antony Starr film, but this one really tickled our fancy. It's got all of the elements that I think people are going to gravitate to for their annual Halloween watch. Just so much visual style. It's got a bunch of what the fuckery. A lot of people wanted to compare this to Barbarian, and sure, but this is a weird little magical film that is probably going to get rediscovered in the coming years.
Yeah, I've already seen this trend a little bit this year because, again, once it hit streaming, it was where did this movie come from?
Right.
Fun fact, I did talk to some people who were theater bookers, and they were talking to people over at Lionsgate who were handling Cobweb's distribution, and they really wanted that July 21st release date. And these theater bookers were like, well, that's going to be Barbie and Oppenheimer. And apparently that Lionsgate rep was like, well, are those really going to be that big of a deal? Please put it on July 21st. I hope that person was fired because no one saw Cobweb because it came out the same day that Barbenheimer came out.
Right. Yeah, you got to be able to read the room or read the trends at least. But it's disappointing because this is just a quiet little interesting, weird, honestly mean film, and it deserved better than what it got.
Yeah, and honestly, I was going to say star-making term from Lizzie Kaplan, but that's not what it is. She's already a star. Lizzie Kaplan delivers a fantastic performance to the point where this 88-minute movie, I was like, oh, I want 20 more minutes of just Lizzie Kaplan.
Honestly, her performance is great.
So good.
And folks, if you want to hear us gush, again, we have a Patreon episode about that. Trace, we do not have a Patreon episode about the next one, though.
And we almost did. We almost did, but we couldn't squeeze it in. Everyone, this is David Slade's Dark Harvest, an adaptation of is it a YA novel? Would you call it a YA novel?
Yes, it often gets classified as YA, and just because it's dark and mature in its themes doesn't disregard that classification.
Sure, absolutely. But and y'all, I will repeatedly say I was wrong about this movie because this was shelved for 2 years, and the trailer looked like absolute ass.
Not great.
And so my expectations admittedly were rock bottom for this, and then Joe told me it was good, so I was like, okay, fine. I trust Joe. Sometimes I'll give it a watch. Yeah. Again, it's a 3.5 movie for me, but I really liked this. I thought there's gore in this. It's shot so well. I do think it could have benefited from a longer runtime because it exists in like this hunger. It's not a dystopian world, but it's like in the past, in the 60s or 50s, and whatever, y'all. There's really good gore in this movie. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely look for this one in the Hereditaries if you're voting, because the creature design on Sawtooth Jack is fantastic. It's one of the best creature designs of the year.
And I really do like a lot of the characters, the main characters. I think where this falls short is that there's a lot of those a lot of the kids that just show up and die.
Yeah.
I feel like if this were, given the Hunger Games treatment, we'd have a 2.5-hour version of this movie that fleshes out all these characters. But we don't, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's just a victim of, I think, being trimmed down to try to get that runtime into a quote-unquote more manageable. But you can feel that the story and the scope even that David Slade is working with, like the production design on this is so good. I love the lighting in the movie, but you can feel it pushing up against the constraints of the runtime.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, it's one of those things where we won't get a sequel, I don't think.
No.
But I would take a sequel to this, or I would take a version that's 30 minutes longer.
Absolutely. Yeah. So folks, if you slept on this because you saw, it's been delayed forever and now they're just dumping it, it is worth your time.
Yeah, agreed. But what's up next, Joe?
So the next one is my new favorite horror franchise. Folks, we're talking about the fourth entry in the Hell House LLC franchise. So this one is, I'm going to say it this time, Trace. Yeah. It's Hell House LLC Origins, the Carmichael Manor.
Yeah, longest title. Well, not the longest title in the world, but it's in the running.
It's in the running, and if you look at that title and you scoff, know that the film is a little ridiculous, but arguably the best return to form for a fourth film in a franchise in a good long time.
Yeah, and like if y'all are fans of this franchise, you know the third one is a piece of shit. This is a huge step up from that third movie.
Indeed.
And look, as a movie, it's good. It's a good movie, but as a scare factory,
right,
it is amazing.
Yeah. And we do have a full-length episode on this, as well as our thoughts on those first three films. So if you're diving into the Hell House LLC universe, we got you covered.
Oh my God, Joe. So when the fifth one comes out, are you going to marathon the first four again?
Oh boy. Maybe. You know what? I might skip 2 and 3. I know you like 2, but I feel like 1 and 4 are hitting the sweet spot for me.
I mean, look, I do like 2. I have a soft spot for 2. 3 is the only one I outright don't like. But yeah, I would agree. 1 and 4 are the peaks of this franchise.
I want to see this continued upward trajectory.
Well, if we get that carnival in the next movie, we'll see.
There we go. Yeah.
Next up, again, I think maybe a little under the radar, but I haven't seen more people talk about this, and this is Huesera the Bone Woman, which is a queer Mexican-Peruvian film that, God, I honestly, the imagery in this film just really sticks with me.
The imagery and the Foley of all those cracking bones.
There's so many bones in this movie. But again, I think out of all like the lower profile movies on the list for us this year, this one I've been seeing get talked about the most in these, like in the lead up to these top 10 lists.
Which is really exciting for me because, as you said, this is queer, this is foreign, this is a first time feature director, it's a woman, and the themes to me are just really fascinating. It's a queer woman who decides that she needs to, quote unquote, settle down with a man and have a baby, even though she's actually in love with another woman. Like, just really timely, important topics, but then also really fucking good body horror and some really unsettling kind of surreal imagery in this one.
Yeah, definitely worth a watch. And honestly, co-writer and director Michelle Garza Severa, I got my eye on you.
Oh, 100%. Like, I need her next film now.
Yeah. I mean, if she can do this with whatever budget she had, like what I'm assuming is a small budget, I can't wait to see what she does next.
So the next one is also a small budget film, but it is another Canadian one. And we know that Brandon Cronenberg can work magic with probably okay numbers. So we are talking about Infinity Pool, as well as Mia Goth's, what, is she doing this every year now? It's just like a great horror performance. James!
I do you worry that she's gonna get the Anne Hathaway or Jennifer Lawrence treatment where like in a year everyone's gonna be so sick and tired of Mia Goth, and then in like 5 years we'll be like, why did everyone hate Mia Goth for so long?
I don't know. She doesn't seem like a really big public figure, so I think that could help her. She just keeps churning out these oddball, quirky performances though, and I love her for it.
Yeah, she is definitely one of the best parts of, well, not just any movie she's in, but especially this pick.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a little bit of a loss because I haven't seen this since January, like way back when.
It's been a long time,
it.
yeah.
But I remember really liking it. And I sat 2 rows in front of Alexander Skarsgård and his date, Jack McBrayer.
Oh, did you touch him? Did you try to touch his hair?
I did not touch him, and I did not try to touch him.
I mean, like, with his consent and everything, but also touch his hair.
Yeah, how would that go? Excuse me, Mr. Skarsgård. I'm so sorry. Could you please give me consent to touch you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can I shake your hand and graze your hair?
So wild. I don't know if the hair is a thing you go for.
It is. It's a thing. I don't know. Call it a kink. Let's move on.
All right. Next up for us, I kind of one that flew under the radar. I wasn't expecting much from this, but it is Curtis David Harder's Influencer, which, I mean, again, I said flew under the radar. That is very factual. It seems like this came out, and the twists and turns in this movie got word of mouth a poppin'.
Yeah. It was very popular when it came out, and it kind of dominated for about a week, and then everybody moved on to something new. So it's hard when a movie comes out earlier in the year, right? But yeah, this is another Canadian film. This is by the same writer-director who did Spiral. Not the Book of Saw, but the queer one.
Oh!
Yeah.
I genuinely didn't know that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this follows this trend that we've been seeing a lot over the last couple of years where it's like, how do we use social media to make a horror film and so on? But I think this antagonist performance by Cassandra Node is honestly star-making.
Yeah, she's really, really good. And, we got to see her again this year in It's a Wonderful Knife, and she has a bit part in that.
Yeah, not big enough.
Not big enough. But she really gets to showcase her talents in this. I think, in this age of influencer social media horror, I think this is a really solid pick. I admittedly think I saw this maybe a bit too late, so I wasn't, in love with this movie, right. But I actually thought it was directed really well. So that you said it's from the same guy that did Spiral, I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, so next one is, I'm sure we're going to hear something about how this production came to be because it felt like we were teased with it for about a year. No trailer, one fucking promotional image, and then it just drops on us in September on Hulu. We're talking about the alien invasion film, No One Will Save You.
Oh, man. Caitlin Dever, my heart, you have it. And this is one we actually watched together. We never get to watch movies together.
No, and in person together.
Yeah, in person. Because again, we never get to watch movies in person. We've done some Zoom watches with the Hellas LLC franchise, but we get to watch. This came out when we were at Fantastic Fest.
Yeah, a bit of a surprise. Honestly, this movie is just such a thrill ride. It's really, really fun.
Well, again, it is a gimmick. This is a mostly dialogue-free film. I think there's maybe 3 lines of dialogue in it. So Caitlin Dever has to do all the acting. I mean, she quite literally carries the film on her back. But it's also just a fun... I was going to say it's a unique alien invasion film, but I was going to backpedal, but I think that's true. It's a very unique alien invasion film, especially when you take the ending into account, which I will not spoil here.
Yes, folks, if you want to hear us talk about it, we do have a Patreon mini-sode on the film, but yeah, this is just one of those ones where it was a really, really good time. We hoped it was going to be good because, of course, the people involved in it have done a lot of good stuff, but at the end of the day, it was just gratifying to watch it and be like, oh, thank God, it is actually really good. Okay, awesome.
Yes.
Okay, so the next one should come as no surprise to anyone who's been following you for like the last 2 years, Trace. But of course, Robbie Banfich's The Outwaters is on our list.
Y'all,
you love this movie.
I love this
Unabashedly,
movie.
full stop, 5 stars.
This is the only 5-star film, horror film I've given this year. My other one is actually May December.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I get why anyone would not. This is not something I would show to my parents. I would never be like, Mom, Dad, let's watch The Outwaters. It's really easy to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But this movie affected me in a way that very few movies could, and I loved it. I loved this movie so fucking much.
It's so exciting to hear you gush about it, because sometimes I think you try to reserve your enthusiasm, particularly for off-kilter or polarizing picks. And the reality is this is a divisive film. Not everybody likes this movie. People don't all get it. But I think the people who do get it, like, really, really love it.
Yeah, and I will confess, living in Colorado now, I do smoke a lot more weed than I used to when I lived in Texas.
Okay.
I have, well, no, because what I've learned is that when I smoke weed and I watch a horror movie, I do find myself more deeply affected by the violence and like the depression of it. So one of the 7 times I've watched this movie, because I have watched it like 7 times, I was very high, and it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I could, like, literally, I was like, I want to check the timestamp on this, and I went to, I was too scared to reach for the remote to check the timestamp.
Oh.
But nevertheless, that's building it up too much. Again, some people will find this movie painfully boring. Others will find it deeply affecting and terrifying, and I'm part of the latter camp.
There we go. Yeah, and if you want to hear us break it down sort of key scene by key scene, we have a Patreon episode on it.
We sure do. Well, we also have a Patreon episode as our next entry, Joe, which is, I think, maybe one of our more quote-unquote basic picks.
Yes, where would we be without an entry from the Saw franchise? But here's the reality. This film is legitimately good, and like, we like Saw movies, so we're not saying this facetiously, but there's been some stinkers recently, and this feels like they finally got to where the franchise needs to be.
It makes me sad because Tobin Bell is in his 80s, and I'm like, oh my god, like, when he dies, like, what are we going to do with this franchise? Because we went through, 10, 15 years of like, wow, we have this Jigsaw-less Saw franchise, all these sequels.
Mm-hmm.
And now, 20 years after the first film came out, they realized, oh wait,
people actually really like Tobin Bell as Jigsaw. We should give him things to do.
This is, hands down, one of the best entries in this franchise.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you are an anti-torture porn person and you're like, whatever, it's just Saw.
Mm-hmm.
This, out of any, like, quality aside, any of the other 9 movies in this franchise, I don't think would be very good at converting noobs or, like, the skeptical.
Mm-mm.
This is the one.
Absolutely.
I would show this to someone who is a Saw skeptic as my first choice, because I think this one is does a good job of giving fans what they want while also making it palatable enough for newcomers.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just nice to see Bell and Shawnee Smith finally get some recognition for their contributions to the franchise by saying, yeah, okay, this is your movie now. And the fans have responded. So I really hope that these creatives are learning the right lessons as we move forward. Because as you said earlier in the episode, this movie made bank, so we are going to be getting a Saw 11.
Joe, I mean, like, I can't believe the money. And yeah,
it's exciting.
It wasn't $1 billion movie, obviously, but for a Saw movie, like the 10th entry in a horror franchise, where the last 2 have really not done that well, especially domestically.
And still going theatrical.
Yes! But it's weird that this is the only Saw film to get overwhelmingly positive reviews. It's got a fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, people actually seem to care about this movie, which is not something I could have said about the last 3, maybe even 4 entries in this franchise.
100%. Yep.
So, next up, another quote-unquote basic entry, but one I will stand by wholeheartedly. A little film called Scream 6.
There we go. I mean, we were always destined to be maybe more generous, but we were probably going to like a Scream film because we love this franchise. But also, Scream 6 hits the sweet spot because we've introduced our core four, and now we actually get to spend some time with them. Yeah, the new characters are a little bit filler. Yeah, the killer reveal is maybe a little underwhelming depending on how much you like what Dermot Mulroney is doing. But like, Scream 6, by moving to this new location, by willingly playing with what we're doing in that opening kill, like, there's just a bit of a renewed energy in this film.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, you know, it's bittersweet given the recent turn of events with this franchise. And I won't go into too much detail, but all I will say is that the Scream 7 that I think we were all hoping for is not going to happen. So I am intrigued, if not entirely optimistic, about the future of this franchise. But the good news is, if that's the case, if the next one sucks or doesn't happen, I think we have a really good 6-film franchise here.
There we go. Yeah, that's a nice silver lining. And folks, of course, because it's a Scream film, we've got a full episode on it. Like, do you want to hear us talk about it for 2.5 hours? Head on over to Patreon.
Yep.
Okay.
So, Joe, next up is one of your favorites.
Yeah. I mean, I have a relationship with the end of this film, but I really ended up loving Sick. So this is the new film by Kevin Williamson. Obviously a COVID film back when we were still doing that, pretending like the pandemic was a thing and not lying to ourselves about how it's over. But even if you're like me and you have a little bit of difficulty with the end of this film and the motivation for what's going on, this is probably the most high-octane thriller horror film of the year. It's like this and No One Will Save You got my adrenaline pumping.
Brevity is the soul of wit and entertainment. Yes, this... it just like it flies by and it's so intense. It's like home invasion mixed with a slasher film. It all works.
I mean, if you hire John Himes, it's because you want action, propulsion. You want this thing to fucking move, and he does it so well in this movie.
Oh, absolutely. Like, it's yes. Because he's the guy that did that Alone movie last year, right?
He is, yeah.
Yes. This man can do tension like
so
no
well.
other. Like, I cannot wait to see what he does next. But yeah, Sick. I'm curious though. Do you think that you will maybe warm to the end? I probably asked this in the episode actually, but do you think you will warm to this ending once we are further distanced from this time period?
It's entirely possible. Yeah, like I had a really negative reaction because I was in a crowded theater as the only person wearing a mask when I saw this. And I was just like, you are not speaking to me right now.
The irony.
Yeah. But yeah, I do think it's entirely possible. Like when we're a little bit more removed from COVID, if we ever are removed from COVID, I will probably soften on this for sure.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Well, okay. The next one on our list, we're almost done, y'all. This is the penultimate entry. I did not think I was going to like this. I thought this trailer looked like garbage.
Absolute garbage. Yeah.
It wasn't funny. Totally killer, y'all. Natasha Khan's comedy horror slasher film, time travel movie. This was a pleasant surprise for me. Like, I just had so much fun with it.
It's so cute and silly. We've got a performance from Kiernan Shipka that we really didn't think she was going to be able to deliver on. And she's fantastic. Really good chemistry with this cast. We're doing 80s, but it's not so overbearing that we hate it. And yeah, like the jokes land. The action is surprisingly good.
Yeah, it's not the goriest film you'll ever see, but it doesn't skimp on the gore.
Yeah, just kind of one of those little pleasant surprises that we did not think we were going to like, and then we ended up really enjoying it.
Yeah, it's just, it's a good movie to show your family.
Now, I will say, a bad film to show your family is our last entry on this list, Trace.
Yeah, you know what? I will let you know. I was going to say I might show my parents this, but I think the inclusion of subtitles will immediately exclude my dad.
Yeah, you don't think they're going to enjoy the feel-bad horror film of 2023?
If it was in English, they probably... Well, my dad would, but like...
There we go.
The number of times I've tried to show my dad a subtitle movie for him to be like, is this whole thing going to be subtitled?
Oh, Dad, no. Come on, Dad.
I get it. He's in his 60s. He doesn't have time for that shit.
Reading, so tiring for a 60-year-old.
It's okay. That's why I have my mom. She's the reader.
There we go.
But yes, what is it, Joe?
Oh boy, yeah, so this is a fresh take on a possession film. It's a little bit of religious horror, but oh boy, do we have chef's kiss, violence against children, ooey gooey body horror, and just, I don't know, it feels very fresh and also so fucking dour. Like, if you are looking for a movie that's going to make you feel bad, welcome back to When Evil Lurks.
Yeah, and I will say, like, if you were not a fan of Damien Rugna's Terrified, I think you might like this one more.
Yeah, that's me.
Well, I will confess, I do prefer Terrified just because it's going back into
It's
that.
scarier.
Like, it's a lesser movie, but it's a better scare factory. That's what that movie is to me.
Okay.
But that being said, though, I really love When Evil Lurks. It's just a downer of a film, not afraid to cross some taboos.
Oh boy.
And I think it's directed really well. Like, this is the thing where, like, I vocalize this in our Patreon episode on the film, but, like, I love this man as a director. I think he has some improving to do when it comes to screenwriting. But yeah, but I wouldn't call it either this or Terrified screenplay bad. They're just, there's some issues.
It's more that the visuals are the key selling feature. The narrative is okay.
100%. And I do think that When Evil Lurks is better narratively than Terrified.
Yeah.
But at the same time, fuck man, y'all, this is... Have fun.
I mean, if he keeps giving us imagery like this movie probably has a higher pause the movie, print it out, frame it, put it on the wall, hit miss ratio compared to every other horror film. It's like this and Dark Harvest, I think, are the most gorgeously disgusting and haunting films for me.
Okay. We haven't prepped for this, so you're forgiven if you can't think of an answer. But what, in your opinion, are the meanest horror films to come out this year?
Ooh.
Because I think When Evil Lurks would qualify.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And in fact, I do think that would probably be my number one pick.
Yeah, I think Outwaters is on there for me. Although, actually, Dark Harvest is pretty mean, too.
Pretty mean. We are comfortable killing a lot of people for no good reason in that film.
Killing lots of kids this year, be it teenagers, preteens, or children.
Yeah, because Cowboy has child death.
When Evil Lurks has child death. Dark Harvest has plenty of preteen and teenage deaths.
Yep.
Oh, man. So yeah, those are our top 15 of the year that we have compromised on. But I think there are maybe a few that we didn't agree on or that not both of us saw.
That more so.
Yeah. So, Joe, do you have an honorable mention for this year?
So I think we each have 3, and we're going to do these a little bit more rapid fire. But
sure.
Yeah, 2 of them we have actually covered on the Patreon. They were a bit surprises to us, right? Where we didn't know what we were going to get, and we saw them. We quite liked them. They just didn't quite crack the top 15. So there's something wrong with The Children, which is a really fun, weird body possession monster invasion kind of thing.
Also, kids dying.
As well as It Lives Inside, which is, again, it's not explicitly religious horror, but it has a foot in it. And that's a South Asian film where we're introducing some really good creature design and probably one of my favorite deaths of the year.
Oh, yes. And it's just... I almost brought it up earlier when you were talking about religious horror, and I was like, but I don't, I don't know if it's like fully religious.
Yeah.
But a lot of good stuff, and It Lives Inside.
Yeah. So I've got one extra one, and this is one that very few people will know or have on their radar because, of course, Netflix acquired it, dropped it with zero fanfare, and did so in the last month of the year. So I'm talking about Saudi Arabian feminist thriller Naga. And this is a woman who, she's from a very conservative household, and she decides to go with her boyfriend to a party in the desert, and she has to be home by curfew or else her father will quite literally kill her. I'm not misusing literally here, because of the culture. And it's one of those, everything that can go wrong to delay her goes wrong. It's basically Run Lola Run.
Ooh!
With a rabid camel attack as the film's centerpiece.
Ooh. I've never heard of this, and I want to watch it immediately.
Yeah, I saw it at a TIFF. I didn't realize it had been picked up for distribution, and now I'm trying to get everyone to watch it. So, yes, Naga. It's on Netflix right now.
Oh, sorry. Y'all, we are recording this. I'm going to date it. We're recording this on December 7th. It came out on Netflix on December 7th.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll rapid fire mine. Well, we'll see. My honorable mention, I have 3 again. Godzilla -1. I feel like we would be remiss if we didn't mention this because it's been such kind of like a box office and critical juggernaut for this like December.
It's so exciting.
Yes, and you haven't seen this, which is why we didn't like fully have it.
Yep.
Y'all, I really like this movie. I am not a Godzilla nut. I don't know a lot about this franchise. I've seen 3 of the entries in it, one of which is the Roland Emmerich American one, which doesn't count. I know, but I have seen the original film. I really like this. It is a 4 out of 5 for me. I'm not quite as high on it as everyone else is, but it's real good.
Mm-hmm.
Great monster stuff. Great human drama. It's well worth it. If you've never seen a Godzilla film, doesn't matter. This is standalone.
Oh, there you go.
Next up, I've got Joe Lynch's Suitable Flesh. This is a Lovecraft adaptation, and admittedly, I watched this yesterday because I kept hearing about it on the festival circuit. I never got to watch it at the festivals. I really liked this. If anything, it is a testament to how we as a society have undervalued Heather Graham and her talents as an actress.
Okay.
There is a trans component to this film. You have body swapping. Heather Graham is having a blast in this main role. Like, I thought this was so much fun. I really liked this. I will get shit for saying this. It is one of the only modern films starring Barbara Crampton that I think is actually good. And
oh, wow.
I say this because some of my friends and I have a running gag where we're like, oh yeah, Barbara Crampton, who we all like, who is really good, is in a bunch of shitty movies. And this is not one of them. This is a good one.
Okay.
And my last pick will, of course, be Laura Moss's Birth, Rebirth, which, Joe, I think both you and I are on the record as loving.
Yeah, absolutely love it. This is a first-time director. They're very exciting. Features 2 absolutely standout performances by Marin Ireland as well as Judy Reyes. Just, it's a simple Frankenstein story, but it is doing so much. And these actors are... they're fucking A-game level here for this movie.
It's so good. There's so much dark comedy in this. It's like Frankenstein, Pet Sematary, and Laura Moss as a first-time director, like feature director, is doing a really good job here. But with these 2 actresses, I mean, Reyes and I think we are in the year of Marin Ireland. I think people are really finally starting to understand her after Eileen and this and
The Boogeyman.
She has yes. Thank you, Joe. The Boogeyman. She has a really good glorified cameo in The Boogeyman, which honestly you could say that about her performance in Eileen as well. But
Tabitha, what do we think of Marin Ireland?
You know what's funny though? It is Marin Ireland because her Twitter says it's Marin like chagrin.
I love it. You know what? She's probably heard it so many fucking times.
Probably so. Although I will say, I never saw The Empty Man, and she was one of the main characters in that. So I feel like now I need to go see it.
Now you're going to have a bunch of people saying you should watch it. Yep.
Yeah, well, my husband has been telling me for months, so fine.
There we go.
She's also the lead in The Dark and the Wicked.
Yes. We say this every time we talk about
every
her.
Time!
You're like, oh, I forgot she was in that.
I always forget she was. I need to rewatch that movie, actually. That was a good one. I need to rewatch it.
Oh, how about this? We'll watch that and When Evil Lurks, and then we'll feel real bad about ourselves.
I love feeling bad about myself. Yes, done. All right, everyone. Well, that has been our top 15 or best movies, honorable mentions of the year. Please send in what did we miss? What have you loved that we didn't see or we didn't talk about? Admittedly, there were a lot of horror movies that came out this year.
Just a few. Yeah.
So be gentle.
Yeah.
But Joe, to wrap us up, I think we should maybe get some levity in here.
Yeah, folks, we love to close out the year with a whole bunch of bloopers. So, Trace, what are some of these categories that we just continue to fuck up?
Well, so, y'all, we are such good editors that you may not know that we edit our episodes. Ha 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 ha. That's a lie. But we often mispronunciate things a lot, and we hide them when we edit, but we won't hide them here. So here are some examples of times that both Joe and I have mispronounced words, names. You have it.
This story is familiar with a twist.
That was what got her all of her like accolades first. And so then she did Alice in accolades, right?
Accolades.
That's what got her all of her accolades originally.
But apparently people don't understand how Weiss managed to sneak that footage in without drawing the censor's R. But going through this for the recording and seeing like trans readings of it, seeing feminist readings of it, I think it did enrich my rewatch as well.
I think so as too. I think so too.
Okay, so the next day, Laura arrives for horror. Where Javier Botet, and I like the idea that this closeted queer actor. We want to talk about immortality, so we're really bringing Dr. Sarah's research in on what we're seeing of like news clips and her in the lab with John's degradation. Nope. With John's. You know what?
Degradation.
No.
Oh my God.
It's one of those brain things, right?
No, I get it. It's a lot of letters for a person.
Right. Yeah.
If anyone's watching The Last of Us, it's basically Among Us or a Fold. Among Us or a Fold.
And then we have the sound of a heartbeat, and it transitions into Edith Cushing, who is played by Mia Wasikowska. Nope, I knew I was going to fuck it up. So we move into therapy. And then Tony, who is played by Norbert Leo Butz. And
wait. I'm sorry. Norbert.
What did I say?
Norbert.
Okay. So Ichabod makes it into town as night is falling, and he watches the night watchman, Jonathan Masbath, who is played Jonathan Masbath as... So Ichabod makes it into town as night is falling, and he spots the night watchman, Jonathan Masbath. Nope, Masbath. And he sees the night watchman, Jonathan Masbath.
Yeah, but I feel like that's always been Nicole Kidman's raison d'etre, right? Like, did I say that right?
No, it's raison d'etre.
That's always been Nicole Kidman.
No, you don't get a second try. You have to keep it in.
No, it'll be a blooper. That's always been Nicole Kidman's raison. Wait.
Oh boy, never gonna live some of those down.
Nope.
So one of the fun things that I have discovered about myself is that since the pandemic, my short-term memory is... Wait, what was I talking about? Oh, yeah. I have a tendency to forget things, and oh boy, does it come out when we do some of these recordings.
Yep, it sure does. I don't remember, but like, she gets him out there, and he falls into one of her pits, which, by the way, she's a fast digger.
No, she had the keys to the tractor.
Oh, right. Oh, my God. Y'all, we did watch this movie. I promise.
I mean, do you want to take it again? We don't have to sound like idiots.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, to the point where every time, what's her face? Shit, I've literally forgotten the character's name.
Quinn?
No, the villain.
Oh, the man with no mask? The man who can't breathe.
Sorry, no, the one from the first two films.
Oh, The Bride in Black?
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, that is fascinating. Yeah, because he was just coming off the heels of Dunkirk, the Christopher Nolan film.
Oh, yeah, I definitely didn't watch that.
Yeah, it's not my favorite.
I'm sure it's great. I know it's like the single take thing, but war movies, like, you have to like drive me tooth and nail to go to a war movie.
I'm going to correct you. That's 1917.
Wait, what is Dunkirk?
Dunkirk is the one.
You're right. 1917 is a single shot movie. Okay.
Yes, we did an audio commentary for Patreon on House of a Thousand Corpses. So this is technically our fourth Rob Zombie joint. No.
Jesus.
We really can't count. So this is our... Let me try that again.
Yeah.
So this is our fifth Rob Zombie joint.
Quality aside, any of the other 12 movies? No.
Sweetie, it's Saw X.
It's Saw X, yeah.
His head is clearly stuck on the wheel of the car. Well, like the... What am I trying to say?
Steering wheel?
Thank you. He has unfortunately died as a result of his injuries because they've been in a car accident.
A really bad one. And she was driving, too.
Are you sure she was driving? That was why I paused.
Yeah, no, she was driving.
Okay. Yeah. And
oh, wait. Fuck. No, you're right. Sorry, I was thinking.
You didn't listen to me the first time I said it.
No, no, because I was thinking of the driver's side for America.
Mm-hmm.
She's on the American driver's side. He's on the French driver's side. So never mind. Ignore it. Yeah.
Now it's just a giant fucking blooper. So we open at Lambert House in 1967 as we see a young Elise who is in fact
girl. 67. It's 86.
Wow. I love it when the notepad literally fucks up my numbers on me.
I was like, wow. I thought that it looked good, but...
Elise is just like aging beautifully. Let's try that again.
And I'm Trace, and welcome everyone. We are celebrating the 25th anniversary of Lynn Weissman's 2003 classic Underworld.
Wait, 25th? Isn't it 20th?
Okay. Wait, oh my god, I think I typed 25th in my... Oh no, I did say 20th. Never mind. Okay. And I'm Trace.
Well, I felt like it was a fact-finding mission. Like, maybe not in these scenes, but when he's upstairs with Kim and...
Bob.
Why can I not remember any of these kids' names today?
Bob,
thank you. I'm not going to lie. I actually think as much as... Oh, God damn it, I keep forgetting her name. The actress who plays Anna. Okay, got it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? Because after Scream 1, that's then when we get in, oh my god, what's the guy's name? The one, he edits all those movies. Fuck.
Patrick Lussier?
Yes, that's when Patrick Lussier comes in. I'm really curious about this because I really like the movie Dear White People, which is his directorial debut. I didn't realize he's also queer.
Yes, very queer.
And he's directing July's Disney film Haunted Mansion.
He is indeed, yeah. So this is his feature directorial debut.
But no,
oh, it's not. No,
Dear
it's
White
not,
People. Dear White People is his debut.
That again.
And again, go back and look at that American remake, which, outside of the ending, is a serviceable copycat of this film. Look, I think Rachel Nichols and... Oh, fuck, what's her name? It's not Laura...
It is Rachel Nichols, yeah.
Yeah, but the
other one. Oh.
It's not Laura San Giacomo. It's the one that looks like her.
Oh, it's the woman from
Mulholland
David
Drive.
Lynch. Yeah.
26 outspan. Oh, and it's I think that Rachel Nichols and Laura Herring do a really good job.
Oh God, was it last year? 2 years ago, Bullet Train came out, and they've got Jamie King looking like a 12-year-old girl, killing a bunch of people in that movie too.
Wait. But Jamie King is not... She's a grown-ass woman.
Oh, God, I did it again. It's the other Jamie. The one who is in... The one who looks like a teen girl.
Okay.
Shit, what's her name?
Well, it's not Jamie Presley, because she's also an adult woman. I don't know another Jamie that you know of.
You will. 1 second. Really? This is not helpful. Bulletproof, the evidence that guns leave behind. Just give me... God damn it. So, bloopers.
Oh boy, I think my memory might have been sometimes worse than yours on that.
You know what? It's all just a big haze, isn't
it? Just a little bit. But you know what? It's okay. We don't have to worry about that because the next category is fun.
Of course. And where would we be without our consistent podcasting traits, Trace? So, Trace, I discovered that I have a tendency to start and then stop, and you have this unusual tendency to go, meh, 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 meh.
Oh, God, do I?
Yeah, this is an adult movie, and when adults have sex, they typically don't strategically place L shape. They don't... When adults have sex, they don't... Oh, my God. double.
Maybe they
outtakes.
This is Park Chan-wook's for...
He had a lot of promise, and it never quite got there because he tragically died before he really got And of course, I heard a lot of people, this is going to be a great episode for me.
When he started writing the story, his intention began, oh my fucking God. His intention became to break all existing taboos.
And then we learn that in the car, we see, sorry, I've lost track of character names. And then we see in the car that Nick is, yeah,
It's
sorry.
okay.
I also love that this movie clearly does not have a huge budget. Like, it is relying on its actors. It's set principally in just Leah's apartment. And then we go to a little cottage. Oh my God. But by this point, I was really getting to the... But by this...
Well, I'm... Blah, blah, blah. Motherfucker. But okay, well, do you want to discuss some of the happenings in this movie? Like, what? Like, let's go. What? Wouldn't it be better? Yeah. We've got a queer slasher movie. It's But like, yeah, like it's pulling Cheryl's like arms, like the tying her legs. It's like an oddball sense of humor to it, which is not what you would expect from John Carpenter. Well, I'm sorry. I think you can expect oddball sense of humor. Sorry. Never mind. Oh God, you were right, Joe.
It's so painful when you listen to them all in a row.
It's really bad, but you know what? It's okay. I will take me speaking too fast and you having to restart a couple sentences over some outright fuck-ups, which we absolutely have done.
Oh, always, yes. So let's listen to a flub or two. Indeed. And cross out horror food. Almost made it.
Go to our YouTube channel to check out our interviews with various horror filmmakers, as well as our predictions and excitements for a lot of the... shit, I didn't write this in my notes.
It's just our most anticipated horror
There we
titles.
go. That's what I was looking for.
We're going to check out the 25th anniversary of Wild Things, Trace.
Oh boy. Yeah, this is... Also, wait, I'm sorry. I thought we were releasing Scream 5 next week.
Oh, God damn it. Yeah, cool. Let me just take that all again.
I was like, I was going to interrupt you, but I couldn't remember, so I was trying to pull up the schedule. So, sorry. What are we watching next? Oh, God damn it.
It's fine. I got it.
Yeah, got it. His first movie, the romantic comedy Where Do We Go From Here, which is a romantic comedy set... God damn it. This is my night to be weird. I will say, though, there is a 5-minute blooper reel on this Blu-ray, and I'm sorry. Well, there is a 5-minute blooper reel, but there are audition footage. God damn it.
Well, that, and I think the allegiance or maybe the alignment. Nope, neither of those words are what I want.
The only reason I can think that they're in here is to show Sophie. I keep wanting to say Sophie Turner every fucking time. Charlotte, though, has spent a long time not having fun, so she really wants to go and travel China.
Lizzie, yes.
I mean, oh, damn it, yes, Lizzie.
Do you want to take it again?
Yep, I do. That went down Charlotte's legs. God, I keep calling her Charlotte. God damn it.
Yeah, so Anton is like, cool, I've got minions to do this. So he leaves, and he basically is just going to leave the dirty work to Theus and Jeffrey and Charlotte. No. How am I doing it?
Charlotte says, it took this happening, holding her stump up, for me to fucking see it. God damn it. When did I
I feel like it wouldn't be an episode of Horror Queers without at least one of you mixing up character names.
It's... God, I don't know why I keep wanting to call Lizzie Charlotte. Anyway. Yes, and if you really want to get in touch with us, you should go to our Patreon and get more content by going to patreon.com/horrorqueers. If you go... Oh, fuck, I just need to stick to the script.
I'm pretty... I need to stop saying the same words over and over again.
I feel the exact same way about myself, dude. I think it's just like end of the year exhaustion.
Yeah, I mean, that, and we do this a lot.
A lot?
Sometimes I'm like, I need to be what's her face from Clueless, where I'm like, I need to expand my vocabulary. I hope not sporadically.
It's where I wish I had. Yes.
So we can recover from one flub, but what happens when we just flub and then flub again and maybe even flub a third or fourth time?
I've never done that. I don't know what you're talking about.
This clip begs to differ. Hey folks, so the beginning of this episode is something that you've heard before. We released the first 18 or so minutes, check the show notes, oh my god. We released the first part of this episode back when Swallow debuted at the Overlook. We released the first 18... Oh my god, just stop it.
It's okay. Breathe. Just take a breath. Evelyn resurfaces trying to blackmail... Emily never resurfaces trying to God damn it.
As well as Willow McClay's body talk conversations on... As well as Willow McClay's body talk... Oh my god.
All right, everyone. Well, hopefully you've already listened to our episodes, but not watched Pale Blue Eye and Scare Package 2. Still to come this... Oh, and of course our episode on Megan. Still to come... Wait, no.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, so... In our episode of... Okay, here, let me try it again. Hopefully you've already listened to our episodes on, but not watched the movies of The Pale Blue Eye and Scare Package 2, but still to come... God damn it. And listen to our episode on Megan, but still to come this month, we've got episodes on... Oh my god, what the fuck am I doing?
So obviously Donald is the... So Donald is obviously the... God damn it, stop saying that.
It's Tuesday.
I really liked Elisa's relationship with her nieces, Imogen and Christian, played by Kate and Gerard. Nope. I really liked Elisa's relationship with her nieces, played... Oh my god. I really liked Elisa's relationships with her... How many times will it take?
You've been saying it correctly.
That's true.
All right, everyone. Well, that'll take care of it. Of this. God damn it. All right, everyone. Well, that'll be attachment for... Nope, don't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, the movie is very actively resistant to saying, oh, they've already... Yeah, the movie is very concerned, like, no, this family has already been to this... Oh my god. Yeah, she is either corrupt or a villain because she has clearly been keeping... Because she has clearly been looking out...
And, of course, for original horror, we are going to be looking at the...
You know what? Get it out now.
I know, get it out now. For original horror, we are going to begin... Oh my god. Okay. For original horror, we will be checking out the...
You're making it so complicated.
I know.
And Kayla, played by Kirby Baptiste Howell.
Kirby Howell Baptiste.
Oh, sorry. And Kayla, played by Kirby Baptiste. No. Why does this always happen?
And that film is set in Northern Ireland during the Troubles, an ethno-nationalist conflict and sectarian violence study in Northern Ireland. Sorry, let me try that again. An ethno-nationalist conflict and... Oh, that's it. Okay, well, I put a word in, didn't mean to do it, but...
Yeah. The horror... The hell... Nope. We are great at this tonight.
Mm-hmm. God damn it, Joe. I hate it when you're so right.
Well, we're both guilty of it, so let's move on, shall we?
Well, but you know what, though? Not all of these bloopers are so easy to categorize. So sometimes we're just going to put them in the other category. Whether it be pets or guest flubbing or just some random shit that we couldn't categorize. Here's the all of it. I'm Trace, and yes, we are here to bring you a mini review of a new queer horror film that's out now. Are you alive?
I am. It's my pop filter likes to fall off. We're talking, Is It True You're a 2-Bit Tart? And we're talking Satan, the Black Cat. And I'm Joe.
Sorry, I had the cat and I had the 2-bit tart.
Damn.
It's okay. Okay. Hold on, because the tits was my line too. We're getting
I took
really
the
like,
AIDS
in
one
sync.
because I thought you would go with that one.
We're really getting in sync with our picks, though. So on a level, I'm really happy about it.
There we go. A lot of her struggle seems to be coming from, like, it's an interior struggle.
Yes, but it's yes.
Sorry, that was not a very good prompt for you.
No, it's okay.
But first, we have to get rid of Annie, and I'm not going to lie, this is a fucking masterpiece sequence.
Okay, hold that thought. I'm gonna pee.
How dare you?
I know. Yes. Also, hold on. I just heard a cabinet open in my kitchen, and now I'm like freaked out because it's not supposed to be.
Okay.
Must have been above us, but it like freaked me out because the door was unlocked, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, so I just went through my entire apartment. I was like, under the bed, behind the clothes in the closet, behind the shower curtain. Like, is someone in here?
Oh, I mean, hello. Yes, you need to. You live in a major city where if you have your door open for even a millisecond, you owe it to yourself to make sure you're alone in your house.
Like, it literally sounded like he was just like he opened something like a cabinet in the kitchen and just like shut it. Like, whatever. It must have been upstairs. Anyway, okay. I'm sorry. I'm gonna pee really quick. If y'all can keep talking, but if I don't speak for 2 minutes, that's why. Okay.
Jen, shall we keep going?
It's up to you.
All right, let's keep going because Trace is boring.
Oh.
He'll hear that in the edit, so it's funny.
Hey, Trace.
Yeah, I definitely did. I forgot about this movie, like the whole ending. I'm
Yeah, the
sorry.
shower.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the shower.
It's of course the one time you want to monologue. Your dog is going nuts.
Should I stop talking about dick? There we go.
No, you can always continue to talk about that.
Yeah, it's a good point. Sorry, I'm pausing because my dog might bark. I'm sorry. Sorry for the editing.
Might bark.
Yeah, sorry for the editing situation. I can hear it like rumbling. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
This element of like Jewish mothers can be naggy, they can be nitpicky. Oh my god, I'm sorry. It's a new location. We haven't lived here long, so he just doesn't know any of the sounds yet.
Oh.
I'm gonna go get him. Give me 2 seconds. I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
This
Don't worry about it.
down. I'll be right back. Hold on.
And most of this information comes from various interviews and editorials from magazines in the late 90s, around the time the film came out. These include Entertainment Weekly, the... Boys! Stop. These include Entertainment Weekly, the Chicago Tribune. These include Entertainment Weekly. Boys! These include Entertainment Weekly.
And welcome back to Chucky Queers. It's our weekly coverage of Don Mancini's sci-fi series. And I'm Joe.
And I'm Trace. And... Shut up.
Perfect timing.
I know. Well, but I will say, though... Oh, shit, sorry, y'all. My dog is scratching on the door. Give me, 10 seconds.
Yep.
And so, unfortunately, if you're having issues with this PG-13 thing, this is basically proving that they're Hold on.
Yeah, I think part of what that is... Okay, so I'm taking all of this. This is me.
They're not even under their crate. They hear a dog barking.
Mm-hmm.
But then once Park... Oh, shit. Hold on 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Butters, go to bed, buddy. Go to bed, buddy. Come on. Go, go, go. 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 Seriously, go. Butters, go. Sorry, I didn't put them in their crates because Butters woke me up at 5 a.m. vomiting all over our bedroom.
Aww.
And so he's been sick all day. And so I was like, I'll just leave you out. But now he's spry again. Anyway. Okay.
I think my favorite is still that one where you weren't sure if someone had broken into your house in the middle of a recording.
Y'all.
Wild times.
It's really scary, though, when it happens, when you're alone. Oh.
And then there was this other fun thing that you developed. Thankfully, it was a habit we broke in you, but it did take about half a year. Trace, what comes to mind when I do this? Okay.
Oh, okay. Is it because I clap a lot, Joe? So yeah, everyone, that is...
Okay, wait, stop. I need you to break this habit immediately.
Mm-hmm.
You have started clapping every time you close an episode.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I don't even know. Okay, noted. So yeah, that's New Year, New You. But did I just do it again?
No, you.
But yeah, everyone. Well, we. Oh, I don't know. Let me.
You
go to our
definitely
Patreon.
clapped again.
I clapped.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what I'm telling you.
Okay.
Keep pointing. Keep pointing it out. Maybe it'll finally stick one day. Okay, but yes, and then we get our first.
Okay,
rewind.
wait, Trace.
Oh,
if you fucking clap again, I'll come
fuck.
to your house and beat you.
I don't even know that I'm doing. I don't know that I'm doing it. I think that Park is the MVP. I just clapped.
To the point where, if you look at it, you can actually see Nicholson almost loses his footing as he lands because it's like he is into it.
Yes, I clapped, but yes, I clapped because I was excited. I was like, I saw the same fucking thing. So, everyone, I just clapped.
Always.
There we go. We made it out of the hole, folks.
Oh my god. Also, if you don't stop clapping, I will kill you.
Oh shit. Sorry. Again, peek behind the curtains, y'all. We have discovered that I clap a lot when I speak.
He gets too excited.
It's so funny. I clapped, sorry.
You sure did?
I did. I know, I heard it. Yeah, you're done.
Yeah.
God damn it, I clapped again. So I'm catching
so
it
many
now.
bloopers.
Okay, well, yeah, oh my god, I almost did it again.
Oh my god, so much clapping.
It's just like an automatic reaction my hand does when I get really excited. It's either a clap or it's a, which you can absolutely hear on some of our recordings.
Oh god. Yeah, weird shit happens when you podcast.
Absolutely. But I don't know. It's pretty par for the course, I guess. I'm proud of this year. You should be proud of this year. It's been a ride, Joe. That sounds like we're ending the podcast. We're not, y'all. We have another year ahead of us.
At least a year.
At least. No, just another year, then we're done.
Yeah, 6 and out. That's been the game plan the whole time. It's like we're the cast members of Community. We're just looking to get that 6 years in a movie.
Oh my god. If my life is not so interesting, but I would love for a movie to be made about us, and just I want to know who's going to play me.
Oh boy, folks, fan cast Trace
Cast
in
us?
a movie.
All right, everyone. Well, that's been 2023, right? We've wrapped up our bloopers. We've wrapped up our best of the year. And fuck, we'll talk to y'all in 2024.
There we go. I guess we can cross out horror queers.
Atlas Avenue, a long stretch of road that encompasses everything the city of Kennett Heights has to offer. Neon lights, traffic, crime, the hustle and bustle of everyday life, and the craziest of characters. My office was above it all. My name is James Locke, and I'm a PI.
Hello, Mr. J. How the hell you doing today?
Good, Edith. Nearly every year I have a new case. New people to meet, new clues to discover, and new problems to solve. But I do it the old-fashioned way. No technology. Nothing post-1950. Hell, I don't even listen to podcasts, but you should. Atlas Avenue Beat is a spoof of the film noir genre with goofy characters, tons of wordplay, and non-stop raunchy humor. There's also 3 whole seasons out right now with more on the way. Just search for Atlas Avenue Beat wherever you listen to podcasts or visit us online at bloody.fm.